What's up YouTube, this is Tube Digger. In this video I'm going to demonstrate all the different filter types available in drum programs and key group programs for the MPC-X, MPC Live and MPC software. Before I get into this video, I just want to thank all my current subscribers, anyone that's liked and shared my videos, anyone that follows and supports me on social media, and of course anyone that's been extremely kind and donated to this channel. If you'd like to do that yourselves, there's a PayPal link in the description and I'd be forever grateful. And don't forget to hit the bell notification symbol on the homepage of this channel, which will notify you whenever I upload any new content. If you're interested in private lessons with myself, please contact me at tubedigger@gmail.com. And of course, I've got an exclusive members content area on my website. It's only £29.99 UK. That's a one-off payment, and that will give you access to special technique videos which aren't available anywhere else on the internet, samples, music downloads, and all my current expansion packs. So it's extremely good value. So please head over to www.tubedigger.com/members. So for this video, I'm going to demonstrate different techniques that we can use with the filters to affect these three different samples initially, and I'm going to move on to some additional samples thereafter. So first of all, we've got a kick, a snare, and a vocal or a speech sample.
Analysis of all sub-processor modules is complete.
Now we can apply different filters and different settings to these to achieve different results. Let's first of all choose the kick drum and let's reduce the high frequencies. Let's say we don't want that tappy sound which we get at the attack portion of this kick drum. That's the simplest thing to do. We just literally grab the filter cutoff and roll it off and reduce those high frequencies. Let's say we want to reduce the low frequencies of this sound. Well, we would change the filter type to a high pass. That will just pass through all the high frequencies depending on the cutoff setting. So at its very highest value, it's taken out all the low frequency content and a lot of the mid-range content. And as we sweep back down, we reintroduce the low frequencies. Now this is good if you want to accentuate the sub or the very low frequencies. So you can find your sweet spot. You can really hear it rumble down at the very lowest settings. To further accentuate that, we can add the resonance, which will put a peak in that particular frequency range. You can really hear that start to boom now. Now if you look at the VU meter over here, you can see that we're clipping, we're going into the red. So that's just a simple case of reducing the volume using the pad mixer until we're somewhere below -3 or -6 dB, that's good enough. If we want to further process this sound, we can simply flatten the pad, press do it. Now that kick drum is sounding like this and it resets our filter parameters and we can further accentuate those frequencies. So let's go back up to the high pass and choose a different frequency present in this version of this kick drum. So you can see there's lots of scope for sculpting this sound just by applying these simple settings with the filter cutoff, the resonance, and of course the type of filter. But high pass filters, in my opinion, are the best for processing kick drums. And you can see that we've got various different types. So let's just reduce the resonance. This is a high 2. Let's set this somewhere where we can hear the thud of that kick drum. And as we go up into the additional high pass filters, that gets even more boosted, particularly when we add the resonance. So low pass filters are great if you've got a kick drum that has a high frequency sound already embedded in that and you can't remove it. If you want to reduce that sound, let's make sure we're using a low pass filter again, and let's roll off the high frequencies. And now we can barely hear that cymbal that's embedded in this sample. But that means we've lost the attack portion that makes this sound like a kick drum. Now it just sounds like a really dull thud. So to get around that, we can use the filter envelope. So it's at the lowest setting. Let's put it all the way up to 127. I've got my filter envelope set to attack, hold, decay, sustain. Let's just take a look at that envelope. And you can see now that that spike at the start here is going to allow some of those high frequencies to come in, and it's going to be shut off very quickly after. So we still get a little bit of that tap sound, but it sounds more like a kick drum now than it did previously when we had no filter envelope applied. So it's allowing me to shape and control the amount of time that you can hear those high frequencies. Likewise, for a snare drum, you'd think maybe that you'd use a high pass filter to accentuate a snare, but in fact, low pass filters are best for this purpose. So this is the default low 2. If we put this up to low 8, this snare will become a lot brighter. And even more so if we add filter resonance. And if we reduce the cutoff, it really starts getting quite splashy and strident. But if you want to brighten up a snare, the quickest way to do it is add a low 6 or low 8 and just play about with the frequencies and the sort of top range. And if necessary, depending on the sample, you might have to add some resonance to further boost the brightness. Also, we can use the filter envelope on this, so let's increase the filter envelope again. Let's reduce the sustain and the cutoff. And if you really want to go into the sound design aspects of the MPC, we can now basically turn a snare drum into a kick drum, which I've shown in some of my older videos. But let's return this back to a snare by opening up the filter envelope now. Let's go to the actual bigger envelope so you can see that more clearly. And you can get some kind of laser zap sounds, particularly again if you increase the resonance. And then you can get these really kind of harsh knocking sounds, which is good for things like techno. Let's apply a high pass filter now. Let's take off the envelope and the resonance, and let's apply a high pass filter to the snare. Now this is good if you want to reduce that slight kind of low mid-range weight to a snare drum and just have a really light sound, or in fact turn a snare drum into a hi-hat. Quite splashy, so let's use the amp envelope to reduce the actual time or the length of that sample. Let's bring down the sustain. So now it's really short, and that means that we've lost an amount of volume. So what we can do is again flatten this, press do it, go to the sample editor. We can see it's quite a low volume sound now. Press process, choose normalize, do it. And now we've increased the volume. We can choose a low pass 8 to make that a bit more splashy and reintroduce some more of the high frequency content in that snare. Now it's a considerably different sound now, which is kind of good if you wanted to create your own snare, which I've basically done now. I've created my own snare and it's pretty much vastly different from the original. So let's choose the original, which is this, and this is the one I've just created. So let's go back to the filters. So low pass and high pass filters for kicks and snares. I would definitely recommend high pass filters for kicks to boost the low frequencies, and low pass filters for snares to boost the high frequencies. Now let's talk about this vocal sample. So of course we can just apply those same kind of effects to a vocal sample. So if we just want to take all the weight or the bottom end out of a vocal sample, it might have some rumble in there from a microphone, we can simply use a high pass filter.
Analysis of all
You can hear there's a drone in this sample. It's just the background ambience from the film of where I've got this sample from, which I think was Future World with Yul Brynner.
Analysis of all subprocessor modules is complete. Analysis of all subprocessor modules is complete. Analysis.
And once you get up to the kind of higher frequency range here,
Analysis of all.
it starts sounding a bit more like a telephone, particularly if you add the filter resonance.
Analysis of all subprocessor modules. Analysis of all.
Or a tannoy system or something like that. But to really get that kind of tannoy effect, we can go to the bandpass filters. Now, a bandpass filter will reduce the frequency wherever it's set. So not really like a low pass filter, which just allows through low frequency content, or a high pass, which allows just the high frequency content. This will actually only allow the frequencies present at the current filter setting. So if we've got it very low, it's just going to be very low. And if we've got it very high, it's just going to allow through the very high frequencies. And we've got several different band, or a few different band pass filters.
Analysis of all.
So band pass filters are best used with or alongside the resonance. This will put a big spike in that particular frequency range that we've set with the cutoff.
Analysis of all subprocessor modules. Analysis of all subprocessor modules is complete.
And if we use one of the higher bandpass filters, we really get that kind of tannoy or telephone effect.
Analysis of all subprocessor modules is complete.
So let's go to the effects and just choose an air delay. Let's go to the settings. I'm going to turn the sync off. I'm going to take the time down to its lowest.
Analysis of all subprocessor modules is complete.
And now I'm going to increase the time so we can hear that kind of tannoy effect.
Analysis of all subprocessor modules is complete. Analysis of all subprocessor modules is complete. Analysis of all subprocessor modules is complete.
So that sounds all right to me. Let's go back to the filter and just try and get a
Analysis of all subprocessor modules is complete. Analysis of all subprocessor modules. Analysis of all subprocessor modules is complete.
Anyway, you get the idea. This band pass filter, or these band pass filters, are good for achieving that kind of radio or tannoy type effect or telephone effect. The next filters that we've got in the list, so let's double tap on there and you can see the full list of filters. So we've got the low pass filters, we've got high pass filters, band pass filters, band stop filters. So what band stop does, it will actually reduce the frequency of where you've got your filter cutoff set. So it will put a trough inside that frequency range. So let's use the vocal sample for this again. And let's go all the way up to the highest setting. I'm going to take away the resonance and you'll hear the way this works as I sweep through.
Analysis of all subprocessor modules is complete.
Let's just take off the delay for a moment. And this is kind of a similar effect to a phaser, particularly if we put it up into the band stop 6 or 8. Let's try the 8.
Analysis of all subprocessor modules is complete. Analysis of all subprocessor modules is complete.
So you can hear it's retaining the entire frequency spectrum, all aside from the particular setting that you've got it at. So if we want to take off some of the high frequencies, we would keep it up around here.
Analysis of all
And it gets a bit more
subprocessor
muffled.
modules is analysis of all subprocessor modules is complete.
If you keep it in the middle, it's reducing the mid-range and you can just hear the rumble and the kind of high frequencies. And likewise, if we've got it down,
Analysis of all subprocessor modules is complete.
we can again reduce the low frequency drone.
Analysis of all subprocessor
So these are really
modules
good
is
for
complete.
actually repairing or restoring sounds where you've got maybe some microphone rumble or ground loop hum or something of that nature, or stuff like white noise or hiss. This, as said, can also behave like a phaser, particularly if you've got the LFO to control this. So let's put it in the middle range. So if we sweep it around, it's going to give us this effect.
Analysis of all subprocessor modules.
And we can
is
obviously
complete.
automate that by applying the LFO to the filter. So
Analysis of all subprocessor modules is complete.
And we can speed that up with the LFO rate.
Analysis of all subprocessor modules is complete. Analysis of all subprocessor modules is complete. Analysis of all subprocessor modules is complete.
Let's go up to the band boost. Now band boost will do the opposite of band stop, and it will put a spike rather than a, that's more like it, it will put a spike in that particular area of the frequency spectrum. So let's again use the vocal sample, and you have to be careful with these because as you get up into the band boost 8 or 6 pole, it can put quite a harsh spike in your sound depending on that sound. So let's just sweep around.
Analysis of all subprocessor modules. Analysis of all subprocessor modules.
And with things like this, we can use the envelope to create different effects. We can increase the envelope to full. It's not going to do anything because we haven't set the actual envelope itself.
Analysis of all subprocessor modules is complete.
If we increase the attack time, so it takes longer for that to sweep through the frequency spectrum, we'll get that kind of squelchy effect.
Analysis of all subprocessor
First of all, we have to
modules
reduce
is complete.
this all the way down to the bottom.
Analysis of all subprocessor modules is complete.
That's a bit too long. Let's reduce the attack.
Analysis of all subprocessor modules is complete.
We can reverse that effect by bringing the attack to here, bringing the sustain down, and then just bringing out the decay. And
analysis of all subprocessor modules is complete.
The sound gets sucked away. We can speed that up by decreasing the decay.
Analysis of all subprocessor modules is Analysis of all subprocessor modules is complete.
So let's now talk about the band stop again. That's what band boost does for vocal sample at least. And obviously we've covered boosting a kick drum or the low frequency in a kick drum with a high pass filter. You can somewhat get a similar effect with the band boost. Let's just try that first. It's on low 2 at the moment. Let's go to the high and show you that again. So we can boost that with the high pass filter and the resonance to make it really boomy. Let's go up to the band boost. It really puts a big, so that's where you've got to be careful. It puts a real big spike in there. But you can get a similar effect as the high pass filters with the band boost. Just wanted to show you that as a side note. So let's look at the band stop again, which is the one that will carve out a particular frequency depending on the cutoff position. So let's now apply a band stop to this breakbeat sample which I've got on pad 5. I've got this programmed into the sequence. So what I'm going to do is go through the frequencies using the band stop. So it's at a low 2 at the moment. Let's go up to the band stop 6 pole. And let's use the filter cutoff to give us a different texture or different vibe with this breakbeat sample. So you can hear that in the mid-range it's really kind of accentuating the kind of air present in the original sample, and I really like this effect on breakbeats, particularly when making jungle. It gives the breaks a kind of a dark feel, but you do have to do some additional processing because you're obviously reducing or somewhat stopping some other frequencies which might be desirable, but you're obviously doing that to give you this kind of slightly surreal effect to a drum break. So let's just try some of the other frequencies. So if we're down here, this is going to really take away some of the low frequencies. But there's sweet spots, depending on the sample you're using, where you'll get a really nice kick drum kind of thud. It's like a real woody, that's a word I use quite a lot to explain how I hear sounds, like in material terms, like a real organic thud. And you can put a spike in that by just getting a sweet spot with the cutoff here. It's almost like this soft thud we can try and use the resonance if we get the right frequency. And there you go. So it depends on the sample and the content that's available inside that particular sample. So the resonance now is actually accentuating the frequencies around this position. So let's increase that to somewhere past halfway and just play about with the cutoff again. As said, you might have to further process that sound. So let's say we wanted to keep it at the current setting. You would then flatten it. So now this is the sample, this is a brand new sample. And then because we've lost some of the low frequencies maybe, we can then change the filter type again, bring the cutoff down and boost the low frequencies that are present in this new sample. So we've restored what was originally present, but we've also created a slightly different feel or texture for this new sample. So again, let's keep going. We can just bake that down. That's another brand new sample. We might now want to boost the high frequencies. So let's apply one of the higher low pass filters. So let's now talk about the three model filters. So we've covered the lows, the highs, the bands, the band stops and band boost. And now we've got these three model filters available. Let's choose model 1 and let's reduce the resonance and sweep through the filter cutoff. And we've got resonance control, which will put a big spike in when we start to reduce the filter cutoff.
Analysis of all subprocessor modules is
So we could put a real big screaming, squeaky kind of resonance onto this sample. So let's choose the second one. Let's take the resonance off just in case it's going to be really loud.
Analysis of all subprocessor modules is complete.
And again, using the resonance, we can really put a big spike in that frequency.
Analysis of all subprocessor modules. Analysis of all subprocessor modules is complete.
So that's quite a dirty sounding filter, which would be good on the breakbeat. So let's choose the breakbeat and change that to the Model 2. Let's play back and adjust the cutoff for this. So that's quite nice on breakbeats, that Model 2 filter. Let's try the Model 3 filter. So let's change that. The gain is considerably reduced with this filter. So to compensate for that, you'd have to bring up the main volume of your MPC, or just if it's already at maximum, your listening system, your speakers or your mixing desk, whatever. So you can actually hear that. And then again, we would go back to the workflow or process of flattening that. So now it's reset our parameters and we can further process it. So let's double tap on the filter box to see the list. The next three filters that we've got are the next three filters that we've got are these vocal filters. And these can emulate the kind of vowel sounds found in speech or vocals. So I'm going to come out of here and let's choose another pad. I'm going to load this speech sample here. Let's just create a loop, note on samples loop. Okay, that's fine. I've just created a basic synth sound basically. In fact, let's create a better one with a really short loop. Now let's change the filter type to vocal and we can try these different vocal formant sounds. Let's let's choose an LFO, let's put it to random, and let's get this sound to sound like it's talking to us. Let's take a look at the last filter in the list. It's the MPC 3000 filter. Let's choose our breakbeat and let's choose the MPC filter. So this is a model of the low pass filter that was available in the MPC 3000, which was released all the way back in 1994. So let's take a listen to this on this breakbeat. Let's just compare that with the default low pass filter. So let's just take a quick listen to this again. This is the MPC filter, low pass 4. So very similar to the low pass 4. So let's bring the frequency down. The low 4. So I would say there's not much difference between the stock low pass filters, particularly this low 4 and the MPC filter. So I'm going to leave it at that, guys. Hopefully these examples have given you a good idea of what the MPC filters can achieve and the type of sound design that you can do by using them alongside the frequency, the resonance and the LFO and the envelopes, of course. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you want to be notified of forthcoming videos, please hit the bell notification symbol on my homepage on YouTube, and hit me up at tubedigger@gmail.com for private tuition. And if you really like this video, please consider chucking us a donation via PayPal, where there's a link in the description. And of course, please head over to tubedigger.com/members if you're interested in signing up for my members area content. I'll see you on the next one, guys. This is Tube Digger, and I'm out.